Ngor said I made my first reaction video. Ngor said explain a bunch. Ngor said 42 minutes though, had to talk a lot. Rat Bastard Rat said has he given it back now? Rat Bastard Rat said what's up with the guild? Ngor said I've already explained this. Rat Bastard Rat said Lwak hasn't given you back guild leader yet? Rat Bastard Rat said that's what I am asking. Ngor said no, he wanted me to make a video. Ngor said to prove it was me. Rat Bastard Rat said well, did you? Ngor said dude I've made like 6 videos now. Ngor said you haven't even made a background story lore, I'm not letting anyone in the guild, until they do this. Ngor said anyone, it isn't even a sure thing to gain access. Rat Bastard Rat said you aren't giving me guild master. Rat Bastard Rat said you're coming back to be guild master. Ngor said that's why you've been asking this whole time? Wow. Ngor said yeah of course I am, that's why I had Wall get my character restored. Rat Bastard Rat said you told me when you were banned that you were quitting and that I could have guild lead when you were able to log on. Ngor said dude go make your own guild, stop trying leech off mine. I don't need anyone running my guild, especially when No has really shown that they're a true blackguard. Ngor said I've told you already how I'm going to start running things now. If I end up not getting anyone to join, because they don't want to create a background lore, then so be it. I don't want to play with people who have zero imagination. Rat Bastard Rat said you're assuming I have zero imagination because I haven't written a background based around the background you've created for your character? And are assuming I am incapable of role-playing because I'm not showing you role-playing surrounding the type of role-playing you're doing with the Defias? Ngor said make a background lore and prove me wrong. Ngor said it's not based around Ngor, it's supposed to be based around where you started in game and in then how you tie into Defias blackguard. Rat Bastard Rat said where were you when Grobulus was booming? Ngor said if you want to tie me into it, that's fine. Rat Bastard Rat said the first realm I ever played on was an RP realm. Ngor said I'm still waiting for your RP lore reading skills. Rat Bastard Rat said alright, you asked for it? Ngor said. Ngor said you say that, like it's a bad thing. I'm just asking for you to show me that you actually care. Rat Bastard Rat said almost done. Rat Bastard Rat said you underestimate me, Ngor. Rat Bastard Rat said and insult my honor. Ngor said we'll revise it together when you're done. Ngor said looking forward to seeing what you got. Ngor said did you read my lore? Ngor said that looks great, but I'm trying to simplify these lores so people don't have to read book. Ngor said I didn't go into detail about the Atomshara, just where I was started, how things came about, and then tied it into Defias blackguard. Rat Bastard Rat said hold on not done yet. Rat Bastard Rat said this is my backstory. Rat Bastard Rat said this is roleplay. Ngor said bro. Ngor said you're not listening. Ngor said orphaned at the start of life, as an orc infant. Ngor was adopted and raised by Master Matthias Shaw, the leader of the SI-7 order. Training Ngor himself in the rogue practice of stealth and ambushing. Ngor slowly, but diligently became one of the best SI-7 spies. Although tragically over time, Ngor finally discovered that the very organization who took him in as their own, were the very people who had slaughtered his parents and lied about Thrall being evil. Filled with the energy of rightful revenge and stolen childhood, Ngor premeditated a plot to backstab his kidnappers, but without much time or warning, riots broke out in the capital of Stormwind City, from Captain Edwin Vancleef's stonemason workers, which allowed Ngor the early opportunity to finally execute his planned SI-7 sabotage mission. Unfortunately, Ngor's assassination attempt failed on Matthias Shaw, leaving Ngor only one option but to escape with Edwin Vancleef and his Defias stonemasons back to the safety of the Dead Mines, in Westfall, finalizing his trust with the Defias Brotherhood and becoming the taskmaster of the elite Defias Blackguard unit. Ngor said that's about all you need to write. Rat Bastard Rat said okay, since you won't read it in the images, maybe you will hear. Rat Bastard Rat said Leatherteeth and the tale of Ngor, the traitor of the Defias. Suddenly, thunder cracks. The defeaning silence of the night is broken as a flash of lightning illuminates the docks, buildings, and sea waters across the southernmost tip of Stranglethorn Vale. Within the musky halls of the salty Sailor Inn, the strench stale rum and fumes strong liquor overwhlem your senses, when suddenly the eyes of a leather-clad orc glimmer back at your own. "Take a seat," says the olive-skinned stranger, his appearance concealed by an old, red face mask. "I've a tale to tell, a tale of sadness, a tale of regret, a tale of disappointment, a tale of betrayal." Confused, yet inticed, you pull up a stool at the bar, and place down your ale, and nod at the orc. "Ahem," coughs the orc, and as he clears his throat, spitting out blood and mucus onto the floor, he takes a swig of the drink set in front of him. Letting out a long, drawn-out sigh, he continues. "It was not so long ago, that the assassins of the Shattered Hand, had to prove their worth by conducting subterfuge and savagery upon the enemies of the Orcish horde, the Alliance. It was not the fact that Warkif Thrall was a poor nor unwanted leader, but that there are many things such as honor, glory, and subservience to a lost cause, which cannot satisfy the heart of my people. You see, there was a time when many orcs, and trolls alike, left the new homelands of Kalimdor, to return to the eastern kingdoms, in search of glory, riches, and even at times, in search of revenge. It is with one gulp that the orc finishes his mug, then stares off into the distance for a moment. I came here, to Booty Bay, and the jungles of Stranglethorn Vale, in hopes of putting what skills I had in subtlety, combat, and assassination to the test, in hopes to find riches and wealth, beyond the likes of what any servant of the Warkif Thrall would or could earn in all of their life. It was when I made a friend, believe it or not a Tauren, upon the southern beaches of the Vale. Goblins of the Steam Weedle cartel had been hiring hitmen and mercenaries alike to combat an ever-growing threat spreading across the ports of Azeroth, the Bloodsail Buccaneers. Bastards, pirates, cowards without any honor. As I was tracking and spotting a newly established encampment of these wanted freebooters, I came across a group of red-face masked fighters. Rat Bastard Rat said, stopping. Our storyteller pulls out a piece of parchment, opens it up, revealing a pungent powder known as snuff inside, and, after sharply exhaling, inhales it all through one of his nostrils. Mr. Smite and his crew, as I came to know them, were some of the strongest fighters I had ever seen. They charged this encampment I had rooted and spotted out, and without any mercy, skillfully slaughtered all but one of the Bloodsail Buccaneers. This survivor, pleading for his life, begged and begged not to be killed, and to tell his capturers any information they wished. It was then that Mr. Smite approached, chuckling at the beggar, that his frown the entire engagement, turned into a smile, golden-clad teeth shining from the maw of this mighty and large bull man. We do not need to hear your pleas, you scum. The Defias Brotherhood already knows your fleet's whereabouts. I would spare your life, but Van Cleef has ordered no survivors be left alive. He stepped back, raised his other leg, and with his hoof crushed the man's head in one step. I could not believe what I had seen, but I could imagine if I were to serve this Tauren, I would not only fulfill my contract with the goblins of Booty Bay and Ratchet, but acquire even more riches. I stalked the crew of this Van Cleef through the jungles, and in no time, found their encampment. I spotted another orc among the many humans which were serving the Tauren, and devised a plan. With trust in that spirits would be on my side, I threw a note in a bottle, written in Orcish, in the direction of the orc. Brother, I wish to join your cause. I will make myself known when night falls and the moon is high. Trust in me, I will appear unarmed. Loktar Augur. Leatherteeth. That evening, I conjured the courage to approach the encampment, in hopes my fellow kinsmen would spot me before any of the humans. Leaving all but a boot knife behind, I stepped out of the foliage of the jungle, and onto the beach. Mr. Smite and his posse had taken small boats towards 3 ships that the Bloodsail buccaneers had kept close to the waters by their initial advances. Ngor said, "You're narrating too much, man." Ngor said, "I just need background lore, not thunderclapping." Ngor said, "Take what you have and simplify it." Ngor said, "I literally gave you my template to go off of." Rat Bastard Rat said, "Are you reading? This is where you get introduced to my character's RP backstory." Rat Bastard Rat said, "Who go there?" asked the orc I had thrown the bottle at. To my surprise, I realized this orc was weaker, and far less intelligent than the average green skin. To my understanding, it was unlikely that this orc was even capable of reading, let alone had noticed my message in a bottle. Oh, what an idiot. I immediately thought to myself, but grumbled it beneath my breath and began to propose my offer of trust. I am Leatherteeth, trained to kill without any hesitation, restraint, or self-doubt by the Shattered Hand clan. Loktar Augur, brother. And who might you be? To my surprise, this orc did not look surprised, intimidated, or alarmed. He had a blank stare to his face. The slackjaw replied, "Me not that kind of orc. Me named Ngor. Me a true Defias blackguard." Letting out a long sigh, our storyteller leans back and lets out a hearty chuckle before continuing. Now, this orc was quite literally the most dim-witted, lame-brained, stupid orc I had ever met. His name was in fact Ngor, whatever that means, and I honestly regret making the gamble I had. Upon hearing this out of the mouth of the peon known as Ngor, I could not refrain from laughing and falling over. My sides hurt, and I could not pick myself up off the sand in time to react. Immediately, I was surrounded by the rest of the Defias at the encampment, completely unarmed. I told them, I had all but a knife in my boot, and that although I could surely die, I would not die without taking at least a life, or 2, or 4, with me, lest these bandits heard my offer first. I offered them a cut of the gold the goblins had offered me for bringing them scalps of the Bloodsail buccaneers, and offered them in return for gold, would serve their Van Cleef in his mission. Astonished, these humans drew down their blades, and asked aloud, "How is it that you know of Van Cleef?" And without hesitation, as if he himself thought he was being spoken to, Ngor shouts out, "Who have not heard of Van Cleef? Van Cleef, big and strong leader of the Defias Brotherhood. The Alliance have met their match. Me want to be like Van Cleef someday. Me Ngor," and with that information, I proposed to these swashbucklers. I am an orc of the Horde, and with the Alliance and the Bloodsail buccaneers as our common enemy, I wish to serve your cause. Ngor said, "I'm looking for simple lore backgrounds, brother. You're writing a book." Ngor said, "Which is amazing." Ngor said, "And well thought out. Ngor said, but I need you to simplify it and go off my how I made mine. Rat Bastard Rat said, I ask politely that you read my character's RP backstory before coming to any conclusions. Rat Bastard Rat said I was accepted, and welcomed into this band of Defias. When Mr. Smite returned, I once again saw his grimacing scowl turn upside down, his golden-plated teeth shining bright. He was pleased to see an orc swearing an oath to the cause of this Van Cleef, and better yet, after speaking one-on-one, was even happier to hear of my service in the Second and Third Wars, and my training by the renowned Shattered Hand clan themselves. So, you've killed Amani humans in your day, have you, Leatherteeth? I replied, more humans than that which I have seen in these jungles alone. Now, it wasn't easy to prove my worth to the Brotherhood, but in no time, as dozens and dozens of blood-sail buccaneers fell dead to my blades, I earned the trust of Mr. Smite and his crew. Now, Leatherteeth, you have shown yourself to be far more worthy of an orc than that dimwit Ngor we have been unfortunate enough to have assigned to our company. And with that, I wish to welcome you to our crew, and to be introduced to our captain, the goblin known as Greenskin. Happily, I accepted the offer proposed to be my Mr. Smite, and that evening, I was welcomed aboard a massive juggernaut and introduced to the captain himself. Not exactly trustworthy of me at first, like many goblins, I was given clearance to come aboard to seek out employment. From Stranglethorn Vale, we sailed north until we reached a cove surrounded by walls of iron. Ngor, who had been assigned to swab the poop deck of Greenskin's ship, immediately stopped doing his task and began jumping up and down in excitement, yelling, "Yay! We will see Van Cleef! We will see Van Cleef," knocking over his bucket full of soap and water and his mop. Mr. Smite was infuriated by Ngor's incompetence, and immediately screamed at the orc and corrected him for his misbehavior. I could not stand how embarrassing it was to see a fellow orc act as Ngor did. As the juggernaut slowed itself, the massive walls began to screech, and slowly opened up. Captain Greenskin veered out, forward, ho, as the juggernaut began to return to speed and make its way inside a massive cavern in which the ironclad walls kept the rest of the world sealed off from. Ngor said, "Stop with the over-narrative stuff. We don't need that. Place you start, Razor Hill or somewhere, for example, some things that push you in the direction of Defias Brotherhood, like being a pirate or crossing paths with Ngor in Westfall, and then how you join the Defias blackguard." Ngor said. Ngor, who had been assigned to swab the poop deck of Greenskin's ship, immediately stopped doing his task and began jumping up and down in excitement, yelling, "Yay! We will see Van Cleef! We will see Van Cleef!" Ngor said, "This is ridiculous." Ngor said, "Place you started." Ngor said, "The adventures along the way." Rat Bastard Rat said, pausing for a moment, "The goblin bartender brings a new mug of ale to our narrator." He continues, "It brings me pain to tell a soul this tale, as this Ngor is the biggest disgrace to my people and all of orc kind that I have ever met and know, full-heartedly, that I ever will. When we arrived into the hideout of the Defias Brotherhood, we unboarded from the ship. This fool, Ngor, could not contain himself and continued to jump up and down, and what appeared to be without any ability to contain himself, shouted over and over again, 'We meet Van Cleef now! We meet Van Cleef now!' until Mr. Smite himself approached the orc and slapped him heartily in the back of the head, demanding, 'You listen to me, First Mate Smite? And if you disobey me again, your ass is mine,' and rubbing the back of his head, Ngor replied, 'Oh, okay. Back to work. Work. Work.' Embarrassing. Mr. Smite and Captain Greenskin stripped me of all my armor and weapons, and wearing nothing but a loincloth, I was told I would be having a meeting with their leader, Van Cleef. However, before I was to meet him, I had to be adorned with a red face mask, to conceal my identity. To my surprise, we were brought up back upon the juggernaut, to the captain's quarters. However, not a single lamp was lit in the room, and for some reason, shadows darker than night, darker than any darkness I had ever seen, filled Captain Greenskin's office. Suddenly, a voice rang out. "Leatherteeth, have you come to serve the Brotherhood?" I was shocked. I could not see this man, but I assumed it was Van Cleef himself. "Yes, I, Leatherteeth of the Shattered Hand clan, wish to serve the Defias and the cause of the Brotherhood. All I ask is that I be paid appropriately for my deeds." "What is it you ask of me?" Silence, and then bellowing laughter. "Your people, you foul-smelling, green-skinned orcs, embarrass me. How could upright, although hunched, two-legged humanoids such as your kind, be of any service to the Brotherhood? Even the Tauren, such as Mr. Smite, and the goblins, such as Captain Greenskin, and heck, even our cook is a murloc, but you? Your kind are an embarrassment. I have never met an orc until I met the scourge known as Ngor, and I swear upon my mother's grave, I wish I never had, and that you had all been eradicated after the Third War instead of thrown into internment camps and given the chance to still live on." Ngor said, like one event of that adventure. Ngor said once again. Ngor said, "You're over-narrating stuff." Ngor said, "Just tell me where you're from, what thing you kind of did, and then how you got into the Defias, blackguard." Ngor said, "Stop explaining the atom sphere." Ngor said, "Or little details." Ngor said, "It's too much." Ngor said, "This isn't a book." Ngor said, "It's quick bio." Ngor said, "Lore." Ngor said, "Apps was taken in and raised up by the venture company led by goblins in Mulgore. Being a druid in this roughneck community was very hard, but they still showed abundant love as his foster family. After many years of disciplined training with the goblins, he decided to venture to Booty Bay, in search of his kin Tauren family. Settling for some time in the Merchant Bay, he was contracted into Steamweedle cartel of Stranglethorn Vale and made much wealth from pillaging and plundering. Along the way he encountered Greenskin of the Defias Brotherhood and was offered the opportunity to join under the command of Edwin Van Cleef. Quickly taking up the job, he climbed the ranks of the Brotherhood and was recruited into the by Ngor and Mr. Smite. Finally finding purpose in life and joining the fight for the defense of the Dead Mines and Defias agenda. Ngor said, "Here is someone else's lore story." Rat Bastard Rat said, "I was not pleased by this human's attitude, though it was not unlike the attitude of many humans I had met before. Your Honor, I can assure you, that not all orcs are like the one known as Ngor. Allow me to prove our worth as a people, by doing whatever most difficult task you have for me." It was then that I realized, I had made a mistake, for again, from the shadows, Van Cleef chuckled. "You, Greenskin, wish to prove your kind worth by doing any task that I ask and so desire." I nodded into the darkness, and it replied, "So, then, it is that the Defias Brotherhood has a problem. A traitor is afoot. He has left our hideout, traveled through the mines which lead to these caverns, and is working with the Alliance themselves now to discover our whereabouts. You don't like the Alliance, do you, orc? Not after what they did to your people throughout all the wars, and after." This struck a string of my heart, if I had even had one left. I had seen many of my brothers and sisters fall into human hands and weapons. The thought of the human mages trained by high elves incinerating my kin and people flashed back through my eyes from the depths of my mind. "I will kill and destroy any human you ask me to," I bellowed out. Silence, then more deceitful laughter. "Good. You shall seek out the Defias traitor, and kill him. But not without the company of Ngor." Astonished, I blinked twice, and thought how bad it could be. "Regardless," I said, "as you wish." Ngor should not have been told his assignment, it was as if it was too much for his tiny brain. "Me. Ngor. Me. Ngor. Kill the Defias traitor? Kill the Defias traitor. Me save the Defias Brotherhood? Van Cleef make me blackguard? Van Cleef make me blackguard, all the way up the mines." When we reached the entrance, I was about ready to stab this orc and abandon the Brotherhood. Mr. Smythe then informed us of the whereabouts of where we were, in a town called Moonbrook. He said the Defias traitor would be there any second now, and it was our task to assassinate him. Before he departed back for the hideout, Mr. Smythe looked at me sternly in the eyes, and said, "Do whatever you must do to kill the Defias traitor, Leatherteeth. Do anything you must do, dot." Ngor said okay. Ngor said peace. Rat Bastard Rat said with that, he descended back into the mines from which we came, and in no time, the sun began to fall upon the lands. Dry, barren, and dust-covered, Moonbrook's landscape resembled that of any other human lands, however it had been nearly turned completely into a dust bowl and desert. I had a feeling my mission would not go as planned, as Ngor could not contain himself. Ngor was clearly untrained in any form of combat, he carried but a lantern and a match to light it. I thought, for a second, that this orc must have been abandoned at a young age, or born out of a human and an orc intermingling at some point, and this being the offspring, a scourge upon Azeroth itself. It was then, that it dawned upon me, that Ngor could in fact, be used to my advantage. "Oh, Ngor. You want to be made a Defias blackguard, is that correct?" I said to him in Orcish. In response, mind you his Orcish was as bad if not even worse than his human common tongue, he replied, "Yes. Ngor want to be Defias blackguard. Ngor want to be Van Cleef someday. Ngor want to make Van Cleef happy. Ngor want to protect the Defias brotherhood. Ngor strong." To my amazement, I was able to teach Ngor how to light his lantern, which apparently he had not known how to do so before, and stand outside the entrance to the mines themselves. I told him, "Now, Ngor, when you see the Defias traitor, just run at him, and he will stop and you will win." To my amazement, Ngor appeared to understand what I was telling him. "Ngor do what Leatherteeth say, Ngor will stop the Defias traitor and Van Cleef will make Ngor a blackguard." Suddenly, as the moon rose above the all but abandoned down, the Defias traitor approached. He was surrounded by an entourage of armor-clad men, dwarves, and elves, wizards, warriors alike. Suddenly, Ngor shouted out, "Defias traitor here! Get him! Get him! Ngor want be blackguard," and began running from the barn built above the mine, but then, he tripped over his own feet. Rat Bastard Rat said stopping, "The orc lifts up his mug full of ale that had been sitting there for a while, and drinks it all." The lantern broke, and to my surprise, Ngor was much more dim-wit than I had imagined. This fool, which causes me pain to call an orc, immediately falls to the ground, lantern in hand, and as he tumbles, the lantern itself explodes, the gas inside spilling all over the floor of the barn. Ngor is immediately covered in flames, and the walls around him become engulfed in the oil fire. No. No. Me not that kind of orc. Help. Help Ngor. Why no one ever help Ngor? Ngor the only blackguard, shouted out the pitiful Ngor as I stood back in amazement and astonishment at this disaster. There was nothing I could do, but to watch Ngor burn himself alive. It was then, that the band of the Alliance approached closer and closer to the entrance of the Defias hideout, which now illuminated the entire town, and could be seen all across the lands, ablaze in the night sky. With one thought in mind, I sprinted with all my might through the only way out, and made a leap. Leatherteeth stops, sighs yet again. "This is why I sit here drinking. Ngor, traitor of the Defias." Rat Bastard Rat said, "Can you help me summarize Leatherteeth's RP backstory?" Rat Bastard Rat said I know that's a lot but you said I don't know how to RP, so what is it? Is it too little RP or too much RP?